This is, for you, a world that you kind of inhabit a little bit in terms of being, I've read interviews where you call yourself a geek and a nerd and that sort of thing. Were comic books, and maybe specifically the Daredevil comic books, something that were part of that for you?
No, actually. I you know, there's nerd, geek, all those words. I'm settling, I think, closer and closer, I think, to dork, maybe.
Dork
maybe
good.
I'm a very proud dork, I think. My big thing was, I'm Dungeons and Dragons player, I'm a Mystery Science Theater buff, board games. I think for my birthday last year, we played Murder in the Dark, where you turn out all the lights and you walk around and you know, fake kill people and hide them. So I just, you know, that was kind of a little more innocent in the Daredevil world.
And what is it about stuff like Dragons and Dungeons that appeals to you so much?
I mean, I'm doing okay today, but I think sometimes socially I feel awkward, and I feel like sometimes I have trouble connecting to people who are maybe more extroverted. So something like Dungeons and Dragons or a board game or something like that is a way for me to be social, but it takes some of the responsibility off of me myself, that if I don't feel impressive as myself, I can be impressive as Mistress Pyrona. The Genasi sword mage, you know? So like, it gives me a little bit, in the same way acting does, it gives me a little bit of a support.
Right. I was going to ask if the two were connected. I guess you just
Sure,
answered.
I think so. I mean, I you know, playing Dungeons and Dragons isn't at all like acting, but it is that idea that you can be braver when you're someone else.
Right.
You know, when you kind of know the story.
Right, when you're wearing someone else's clothes.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Karen Page. This is a character that's been around since the 60s, I think, right?
Yeah.
Since 1964.
She's in the very first episode.
Yeah, but she's changed a great deal over the time. And when I was, you know, I wasn't as familiar with her, all the iterations of her, but Frank Miller did some terrible things in the 80s.
I know,
to
just
the character.
tortured her.
So tell me a little bit about taking all those, because I hear when you work for Marvel, one of the things they do is they go, here's everything for you to read and just sort of have a look at. And so you must have seen all these iterations of it. Then you have the scripts. Tell me a little bit about forming her as your version of her.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think as you've sort of alluded to, she starts out quite innocent, quite sweet and a little naive even. And you know, towards the end, she goes, can I say heroin addicted porn star on your thing?
Sure,
you know, like she goes, it's really quite dark and a little scary. And then she gets redeemed and then she dies. So it's a very tragic turnaround at the end there. So I think for me looking at it, because I like characters that change and have that exploration, but I also feel when you do it separately, when she's just the Madonna or she's just the whore, it's less interesting to me. What I like is when a woman, as all women are, encompass all sides of what that is. So for my Karen, I said, all right, she's going to have moments when she's innocent and sweet and fun to be around, and she's going to have moments where she's dark and a little addicted to that adrenaline rush, and you know, danger in a way is going to excite her. And I want both of those things to be able to live in her at the same time. And you know, luckily we didn't start her innocent. We started her with a bit of a past, which hopefully, if we, you know, are able to do any more of Daredevil, we'll find out about. Yes,
it looks like you're going to be able to do more.
I hope so. That would be really fun. But yeah, that I like that she doesn't start super innocent. There's something dark about her going on already, and you know, we'll see.
Right.
What comes?
Well, the idea of showing multifacets thing is certainly from True Blood. Your character there, from show to show, had huge changes, right? Because you were also there, I guess, the character was still growing up in a way.
Yes, it's a coming-of-age story for her,
the fans that you must have. So genre fans are a unique breed. I think it's fair to say you would have encountered that with True Blood starting there. This will be a whole other thing.
Sure.
What kind of reaction do you get from the fans who write you letters, I'm sure, Twitter, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I think, luckily and a little unfortunately, I really try to steer clear of any sort of social media interaction, or, you know, I don't read reviews or comments or anything like that, which is healthier for me, I think. But, you know, certainly in my interactions on the street, and, you know, my boyfriend is a gigantic comic book fan, and so he has a lot of friends who are really into this stuff, and so I hear from them, and, you know, it's been remarkably positive, and even the people who come up on the street, they seem excited to talk about it, and they're excited that that we're doing justice to these characters that they've loved, and I'm glad that that's the response. I was really nervous about it, actually.
Well, for sure, right? Because fans of this world are really serious about this world.
They are, but in a really refreshing way. You know, they don't care about it just because they think you're hot and want to see you take your top off or something. They care about it because they really want the character to be the Karen that they love, you know, and that they respect. And that's again, it's like refreshing, actually.
Yeah, and I saw a photograph of you and your boyfriend, and he was dressed like Daredevil.
He cosplayed.
Which was so cool.
How cool is that?
So
my boyfriend, I think a friend of ours tweeted us, and my boyfriend read it to me, and he was like, "We think EJ is the first person to ever cosplay at a Hollywood premiere." I think it's pretty amazing.
That may be. That could be a Guinness Book of World Records thing. What have you liked most about becoming part of this universe, this Marvel universe, which is so huge? I mean, this is a good time to be a dork. You know,
no kidding,
because
right?
this is a good time to be a dork. And so let's talk about because becoming part of this, you will be part of this for some time.
Potentially,
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of unprecedented. I mean, I can't think of really anything else that has that. I mean, there's some spin-offs, like you think of like Cheers and Frasier, or you know, like things that have kind of played that way. But this is on a scale that we have never seen before.
It's like a giant puzzle, and it just keeps getting bigger.
Well, what
and bigger.
I love specifically about what we've done is that they had a really, you know, specific kind of primary colors, you know, kind of story that they were telling, and we get to play with these sort of gray shades in this other world, but we can still exist in the same universe. And the fact that they've actually pulled that off is incredible to me. So yeah, it's cool to think that, you know, while they're up there fighting worms that are coming out of a black hole, you know, we can be down on the streets, you know, stopping the drug traffickers, and that's, I don't know, it's just a really, it fleshes everything out so nicely.
It sure does. I mean, and the Marvel Universe to me is so interesting because it on film, and certainly I think on television too, it's kind of unprecedented.
Yeah.
To be able to link all these stories together, to have all the same actors play the characters from movie to movie, to have movies like Guardians of the Galaxy come along, which are part of it, but are different in tone, and yet people accept it all as one big throbbing thing that lives and breathes, you know? It's very cool.
Well, I like the idea that, you know, even just genre-wise, that, you know, the Avengers world can live in kind of that action science fiction area. Guardians of the Galaxy can be more family-friendly, and then here we are doing kind of grown-ups, you know, ideas. And it's just great that, you know, all together we can really live in the same world.
If there was any other character that you could play in that world, what might it be?
I keep getting asked this, and I feel bad because I'm so excited for her, but the first comic book I ever read was Alias by Brian Michael Bendis, and they're doing Jessica Jones, and I always sort of, when I was reading it, I was like, ooh, what a cool part this would be to play. So I'm super excited to see Kristen and what she does with it.
It was lovely to meet you.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.